Did you know that the very first email message was sent between two computers sitting just a few feet apart from each other? That the symbol we use billions of times every day, the @ sign, was chosen completely at random? Or that email became so addictive on early computer networks that within just 2 years, it accounted for 75% of all network traffic? Today, you're about to discover the fascinating, almost accidental birth of one of humanity's most revolutionary communication tools. A tool that emerged not from grand corporate planning, but from an engineer fooling around with code he wasn't even supposed to be working on. This is the fascinating origin of email. To truly appreciate the revolution that email sparked, we need to travel back to the 1960s and early 1970s. Picture this. If you wanted to send a message to someone, you had exactly 4 options. 1. Pick up the telephone and hope they're available to answer. 2. Write a letter and wait days or even weeks for a response. 3. Send an internal memo through your company's mail system. Or 4. Walk directly to their office for a face-to-face conversation. Meanwhile, computers existed, but they were nothing like what we know today. These behemoths filled entire rooms, cost millions of dollars, and were owned exclusively by governments, large corporations, and universities. They weren't for communication. They were number-crunching machines designed for complex calculations and data processing. But something interesting was happening at places like MIT and other research institutions. Computer scientists had developed time-sharing systems that allowed multiple users to access the same computer simultaneously through different terminals. And on these systems, a primitive form of messaging emerged. Programs like Mailbox appeared in the 1960s, allowing users to leave messages for each other on the same computer. But here was the catch. You could only message someone using the exact same machine as you. If your colleague was down the hall working on a different computer, tough luck. You'd have to walk over there yourself. This limitation seems absurd now, but it reveals something crucial. Nobody yet imagined that computers could, or should, be used primarily for communication between people. The prevailing wisdom was that human communication already worked fine. We had phones, we had mail. Why waste expensive computer resources just to talk to each other? But everything was about to change, thanks to a project born out of Cold War paranoia. October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik, the first artificial satellite. America, the supposedly technological superpower, had been beaten into space. The psychological impact was profound. In response, the U.S. government created the Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, with one mission: ensure America would never again be caught off guard by technological advances. And one of their most ambitious projects would ultimately give birth to the Internet itself. By 1969, ARPA had funded the creation of ARPANET, the first wide-area computer network using a revolutionary technology called packet switching. On October 29, 1969, the first message was sent between UCLA and Stanford. That message was supposed to be the word login, but the system crashed after just 2 letters. LO. It was simultaneously a failure and a triumph, because even though the system crashed, those 2 letters proved something extraordinary. Computers separated by hundreds of miles could actually talk to each other. ARPANET expanded rapidly. By 1971, it connected 15 institutions. By 1972, 37 nodes. Universities, research labs, and government facilities could now share data, transfer files, and access remote computers. Scientists working on defense projects could collaborate without physically traveling to each other's locations. Two key protocols emerged: FTP, File Transfer Protocol, which allowed computers to exchange files, and Telnet, which enabled remote login to distant computers. These were considered ARPANET's killer applications, the revolutionary breakthroughs that justified the network's existence. But at a technology company called Bolt, Beranek and Newman, BBN for short, located in Cambridge, Massachusetts, an engineer was about to accidentally create something that would eclipse them both in popularity. His name was Ray Tomlinson, and he was about to invent email. Ray Tomlinson was born in New York in 1941 and earned his master's degree in electrical engineering from MIT in 1965. 2 years later, he joined BBN Technologies, where he worked on various ARPANET projects. He was smart, talented, and by all accounts modest about his contributions to technology. In 1971, Tomlinson was working with two existing programs. The first, called SNDMSG, Send Message, allowed users to leave messages for other users on the same computer. Think of it like leaving a sticky note on someone's desk. The second program, CPYNET, enabled file transfers between different computers over the ARPANET network. And then Tomlinson had a thought. What if I combine these two programs? What if messages could travel between computers, not just between users on the same machine? This wasn't part of his assigned work. In fact, he later told a colleague, "Don't tell anyone. This isn't what we're supposed to be working on." But Tomlinson couldn't let the idea go. He incorporated code from CPYNET into SNDMSG, essentially enabling networked messaging, and then came the historic moment. Sometime in late 1971, the exact date is lost to history, Tomlinson sent the first email from one computer to another. The twist: both computers were sitting right next to each other in the same room. What was that groundbreaking first message? According to Tomlinson himself, it was completely forgettable. Probably just a test string like QWERTYUIOP, the top row of letters on a keyboard. He later admitted, "The test messages were entirely forgettable, and I have, therefore, forgotten them." But Tomlinson did make one crucial decision that would echo through history: how to format an email address. He needed a way to separate the user's name from the computer's name. Scrolling through his keyboard, he chose a symbol that seemed relatively unused in programming and usernames: the @ sign. And just like that, the format user@host was born. Tomlinson chose the @ symbol because it wasn't used in usernames or the 10X operating system he was working with, and it intuitively conveyed @ as in, this user at this location. That seemingly trivial choice created a symbol now used billions of times every single day. The @ symbol was so important to modern communication that in 2010, it was added to the Museum of Modern Art's Architecture and Design collection, specifically crediting Tomlinson and describing it as a defining symbol of the computer age. When Tomlinson demonstrated his email system to colleagues on the ARPANET, something unexpected happened. It exploded in popularity. Remember, this was supposed to be a network for sharing scientific data and running complex calculations. But researchers discovered something more compelling than any computation: the ability to communicate instantly with colleagues across the country. By 1973, just 2 years after Tomlinson's invention, a study found that 75% of all ARPANET traffic was email. Not file transfers, not remote computing, email. The feature nobody had asked for became the network's most popular application by an overwhelming margin. As email usage skyrocketed, programmers scrambled to improve the experience. Lawrence Roberts, ARPANET's own program manager, created RD, the first mail manager, which let users sort, save, and delete messages. Then came MSG, created by John Vittle in 1975, which introduced the revolutionary ability to reply to messages directly. According to engineer Dave Crocker, MSG resulted in an exponential explosion of email use over roughly a 6-month period. Tomlinson, characteristically humble, later said he wasn't particularly surprised by email's success. "I see email being used, by and large, exactly the way I envisioned." But he probably couldn't have imagined just how far it would go. We've just uncovered how email was accidentally invented by an engineer fooling around with code. But the story of how it spread from ARPANET to every corner of the globe gets even more fascinating. If you're finding this origin story as captivating as I do, take a second to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these fascinating stories. And definitely subscribe to The Fascinating Origin of Things and ring that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into history's most interesting innovations. Got friends who'd love this? Share this video with them. Now, let's explore how email escaped the laboratory and conquered the world. Throughout the 1970s, email continued to evolve on ARPANET. But ARPANET had a problem. It was just one network among many. Universities, corporations, and government agencies were all creating their own networks, but they couldn't communicate with each other. Email on ARPANET couldn't reach email on other networks. Enter two brilliant computer scientists, Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn. Starting in the early 1970s, they developed a revolutionary solution: TCP/IP, Transmission Control Protocol and Internet Protocol. These protocols would allow different networks to interconnect seamlessly. On January 1st, 1983, ARPANET officially switched from its old protocol to TCP/IP. This date is often considered the true birth of the Internet. Suddenly, networks around the world could communicate. Email was no longer confined to ARPANET. It could travel anywhere. In 1982, a critical document called RFC 821 was published, establishing SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, as the standard for sending email. This created a universal language that all email systems could speak, regardless of who built them or where they were located. But email remained primarily a tool for academics and researchers until the personal computer revolution of the 1980s. As computers became smaller, cheaper, and more accessible to regular people, email began its journey into mainstream consciousness. CompuServe, one of the first commercial online services, offered email to consumers starting in 1978. But it was expensive and complicated. You needed technical knowledge, a modem, and patience. Then came America Online, AOL, which brought email to millions of American homes in the late 1980s and early 1990s. AOL made email accessible to people who'd never touched a computer before. Their famous "You've Got Mail" notification became one of the most recognizable sounds of the decade. AOL sent out millions, eventually billions, of free trial CDs and floppy disks. They carpet-bombed America with free internet access offers, and it worked. By the mid-1990s, AOL had introduced an entire generation to email, instant messaging, and online communities. Meanwhile, email was transforming the workplace. By the early 1990s, businesses were adopting email systems like Microsoft Exchange and Lotus Notes. Memos and interoffice mail were replaced by instant electronic communication. And then came a watershed moment. In 1996, Americans were sending more electronic mail than traditional postal mail for the first time in history. Email had officially become the primary way people communicated in writing. In 1996, another revolution arrived. Hotmail, the first major free webmail service. For the first time, you didn't need to install software or pay a subscription. You could access your email from any computer with an internet browser. This democratized email further, making it truly universal. Then, in 2004, Google launched Gmail with a then revolutionary 1 gigabyte of storage, hundreds of times more than competitors. Gmail introduced powerful search, threaded conversations, and a clean interface. It set a new standard for what email could be. Today, email is everywhere. According to recent estimates, there are over 5.6 billion active email accounts globally. That's more than 2/3 of humanity. Approximately 350 billion emails are sent every single day. From Ray Tomlinson's forgotten test message between two adjacent computers to 350 billion daily emails spanning the globe. That's the power of a simple, elegant idea. Email fundamentally transformed how humans communicate and work. Before email, business communication meant phone calls, physical mail, or face-to-face meetings. Projects moved at the pace of postal delivery. Decisions took days or weeks. Today, teams collaborate across continents in real time. A designer in Tokyo can send work to a client in New York instantly. Remote work, accelerated by recent global events, wouldn't be possible without email as a foundation. Email enabled the digital workplace. Email spawned entire industries. Email marketing generates billions in revenue annually. Every online purchase confirmation, password reset, and subscription newsletter relies on email infrastructure. Companies like MailChimp built billion-dollar businesses purely on email technology. Over the years, many technologies have tried to kill email. Instant messaging, social media, Slack, Microsoft Teams. Every few years, someone declares that email is dead or dying. But email survives. In fact, it thrives. Why? Because email has something those other platforms don't. It's open, decentralized, and universal. Unlike Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, email doesn't lock you into one company's platform. You can email someone regardless of whether they use Gmail, Outlook, or a custom business domain. This interoperability, this refusal to be controlled by a single corporation, gives email extraordinary staying power. Of course, email's success created problems too. Spam email became such a nuisance that by some estimates, over 45% of all email sent today is spam. Phishing attacks, where criminals impersonate legitimate companies to steal information, cost billions in damages annually. Email also changed workplace culture in unexpected ways. The reply all disaster became a new form of office embarrassment. Inbox zero became a productivity obsession. Email etiquette became something people actually worried about. Should you use an exclamation point? Is it rude to email after hours? These weren't questions anyone asked before 1971. And email addiction became real. Studies show the average office worker checks email 15 times per day. That constant connectivity brings both benefits and drawbacks. We're more productive in some ways, but also more distracted and stressed. Ray Tomlinson continued working at BBN Technologies for his entire career, serving as a principal scientist until his death in 2016 at age 74. He worked on numerous projects beyond email, contributing to network protocols and computer security. When asked about inventing email, Tomlinson would often downplay its significance. He once joked that his lasting contribution to the internet might be choosing lowercase over uppercase for email addresses, thereby saving millions of keystrokes. He preferred email over email because he was simply trying to conserve the world's supply of hyphens. When Tomlinson died in March 2016, tributes poured in from around the world. Gmail tweeted, "Thank you, Ray Tomlinson, for inventing email and putting the @ sign on the map." Tech leaders and everyday users alike recognized that one of the unsung architects of the digital age was gone. In 2022, the United States established Email Day as an annual observance on April 23rd, Tomlinson's birthday, honoring his creation and its profound impact on human communication. Tomlinson's symbol has taken on a life beyond email. Today, it's how we tag people on social media, identify usernames on Twitter and Instagram, and reference others across the digital world. A symbol chosen almost at random in 1971 became one of the most important characters in human communication. From a test message between two adjacent computers to 350 billion daily emails connecting every corner of the planet. From an engineer fooling around with code he wasn't supposed to be working on to a tool used by 5.6 billion people, more than 2/3 of humanity. Email's story reminds us that world-changing innovations don't always come from grand corporate plans or massive research initiatives. Sometimes they emerge from curiosity, tinkering, and someone asking, "What if?" Ray Tomlinson saw two programs that did different things and wondered if he could combine them. That simple curiosity created a tool that changed how humanity communicates. It enabled global collaboration, transformed business, and connected billions of people across oceans and continents. And it all started with one symbol, @ a humble character on a keyboard that became the bridge between people and places, between ideas and actions, between you and everyone you've ever emailed. So there you have it, the complete story of email from its accidental invention in 1971 to the global communication backbone it is today. If this deep dive into technology history fascinated you, you're going to love our other videos exploring the origins of everyday innovations. Check out our video on the origin of the internet itself, or discover how Wi-Fi was invented. Hint: it involves a 1940s movie star. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the fascinating Origin of Things so you never miss these captivating stories. I want to hear from you. What technology origin story should we explore next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. And if you learned something new today, hit that like button and share this video with someone who loves tech history as much as you do. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep discovering the fascinating origins behind the things we use every day.